Hello, welcome to our marketing webinar today. I am so happy that you guys are here. We are talking about PowerG and building a better product or building a better system using a better product with PowerG. And I've got special guest Jonathan Davis, also known as JD. Would you like to introduce yourself, JD?
Absolutely, Whitney. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Jonathan Davis. I go by JD. I'm territory sales manager for 5 states. I cover Arkansas, Missouri, Southern Illinois, Kansas, and Nebraska.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. JD is one of my favorite sales reps because we talk all the time and I get a lot of marketing ideas from him. So keep it coming. Okay, so a couple housekeeping items. If you guys will locate your GoToWebinar control panel, scroll down to the question section or the chat section and let us know that you are here, where you are from, what the weather is like, anything you want to tell us. That's how I know that you can hear me. The slides are showing up okay. And it's also how you can communicate and ask questions and we can answer them right now and get you your answers. We do have some support on the back end. We've got Neil Jones and Mark Buckley. They are 2 of my favorite technical account managers, and they will be answering questions there on the back end and they might be chiming in, asking questions that you guys are asking. So use that question section. We want to make sure that what you guys want to talk about, we are addressing. Okay, so first things first, I want to know, since we're talking about PowerG, if you guys have used any PowerG sensors. So I'm going to launch a poll and just choose yes or no, whether or not you've used them. And this will kind of help guide what we want to talk about, how in depth we want to go on some more basic information or not. So make your vote. Thank you guys so much. We'll wait just a couple more minutes. We do have, while we're waiting, we do have technical webinars, technical workshops, season 4, I think it is, and they are starting this month. So if you guys are interested in joining those technical webinars, Neil, if you could drop the link in the chat section, you can join then, and they will be happening every week. They're 30 minutes long, really short, just like these workshops. We want to get the information that you guys need quick, fast. And I think the technical workshops are actually based off of feedback from dealers who have attended. So the topics were selected directly by customer feedback. So join those. Okay, about 70% of you have used PowerG sensors. Excellent. Okay, thanks for doing that. All right, well, let's dive in. Let's talk about PowerG. PowerG is kind of the future of security because it has so much to offer. A lot of the benefits and features that it has, like encryption, we'll go in depth on some of these. 2-way encryption, it's got remote access, auto signal adjust, a 5-year battery life, and it avoids interference. And the great thing about the range is it's normally, so legacy sensors will do that little red circle there where it's very localized, very central to your install. But PowerG will actually exceed that a little bit more. JD, what have you seen with PowerG as you've worked with dealers who are installing in residential installs?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there is the range. You know, typical 16, 1,800, 2,000 square foot home, everything's good to go. But when you start getting into larger homes or, you know, having shops outside or something that's outside of the home, you know, several hundred feet away, or even a gate that's down their driveway and they want to know if it's been open or closed, you know, that right there is very key, is just giving dealers more in their tool bag to extend their range, you know, with the coverage for their customers.
I know in my last house, it was, I think 2,800 square feet with the basement, and the sensor I had, it was a legacy SRF sensor on my garage door, and the sensor I had in the back corner of like my master bathroom would sometimes drop. And when we replaced them with PowerG devices, we never had that drop. So I mean, I'm a big fan of range because I've experienced it coming from PowerG for my own home. We do have a quote here. The range is amazing. This is from a dealer. I thought I'd have to rent a scissor lift and run hardware lines and conduit, but PowerG wireless worked. And I didn't even need a repeater. I saved hundreds of dollars and was done in 1/3 of the time. I love that quote because it addresses so many different things that PowerG offers. And this is a commercial install dealer, but he talks about how range with distances up to 3,600 square feet, no matter what type of environment, and we'll talk about case study that we did with the, what is it called? The USS. Of course, I'm going to forget the name of it. We'll get to it. It's at the end of this, at the end of the presentation. But whether it's steel or normal housing, stucco, wood, that kind of thing, you don't really have the same challenges that you would with SRF. JD, have you seen that? The building, oh my gosh, I cannot think right now. The building materials making a difference with installs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, concrete walls, steel, things that interfere in the past, you know, PowerG, with the range it has, it has definitely changed the game. It definitely gives you as a dealer, you know, that opportunity to reduce repeaters and things like that and be able to cover a larger space.
Yeah, and then of course you've got the diagnostics on, if you use IQ Panel 4, you've got diagnostics on there so you can see what's happening and things like that, which helps. And then of course the industry best encryption. So what that kind of means is it's 128-bit encryption and it's frequency hopping to avoid interference and jamming. So if you recall, when I first started in the industry, I don't know, it was probably close to 15 to 20 years ago, as just a call center agent, we were having problems with jamming, where people were going around and jamming sensors and breaking into homes and things like that. And that was a really big challenge for the panel we were using and the devices we were using. But with PowerG, it helps avoid that using frequency hopping. And then two-way communication. JD, I don't totally know how that works. How does the two-way communication work? Are you there? Did we lose you?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the mute button there. So the two-way communication, what it does is it, you know, it gives you as a dealer, as far as wherever you're placing that sensor is, it gives you communication back to know the signal strength from the panel to the actual sensor. It tells you, you know, green, amber, or red for strong signal, moderate signal, or weak signal. So obviously the stronger the signal, the longer that battery is going to last. You know, if you get an amber or a red response on that, it's going to still work as far as the battery goes, but it's going to take that battery down a little bit faster than normal, but it still does a very good job as far as the battery life.
So you can see directly on the sensor the battery life or the signal strength.
That is correct. Yep, it will give you a relay back and tell you the signal strength. It's a little LED light there that will flash on all sensors.
Perfect. And then is there a longer battery life for PowerG devices versus regular legacy SRS devices?
Absolutely, there is. Yeah, but even going into the commercial world, we can talk about that later. But we do have our enclosed contact that will be made for commercial applications.
Perfect. I just feel like PowerG offers, it's a more thoughtful, engineered technology into devices, right? They kind of took some of the common issues that you encounter in an install, battery life, range, encryption, and they said, we can fix this in a device. So I think PowerG is just, they bundled it up really nicely and packaged it so nice in a smart technology. So we touched a little bit on the portfolio. This is just a fraction of devices here. You've got door sensors, motion sensors, you've got outdoor contacts, cameras, sirens, key fobs. JD, is there a device that dealers tend to lean towards more on PowerG?
Well, with the capability of range, I mean, again, it opens it up, right? So it allows the dealer to use every one of our sensors and don't have to worry about any issues with range. I would say, you know, the biggest thing there is that outdoor contact, where you weren't able to do that in the past. With PowerG now, I think with that weatherproof outdoor contact, I think that, again, it gives those dealers a lot more options to use that on gates or AC units, or, you know, anything that could be in the weather that you couldn't use before, but you can now.
Yeah. Can you guys hear my kids in the background? It's like distracting me, but I don't know if you guys can hear it. If not, then we're good. I was going to ask him to be quiet, but we're good. I love the portfolio.
It's not bad, Whitney.
Okay, let me know if it gets bad, and I'll put him in line. He's going to be a future tech, right, Neil? So I love the PowerG portfolio because when it came to the legacy devices, I felt like it was really limited. Like if you wanted to protect your gate to your house, or if you had an outdoor shed that you wanted to keep your power tools and things like that safe, like it was really limited I felt like, as far as not only range, but devices that were offered that didn't cost an arm and a leg. But when I was looking at the PowerG portfolio, it felt like there was a lot more options that way. So I like how well-rounded the offering is. Now, there are a couple devices that we wanted to highlight here. JD, do you want to talk about these devices?
Yeah, I mean, I can. The biggest thing there is that 9309. You know, what that does is it allows more of the open and close, saving that battery on a commercial application. You know, if you're going to put on a door that's going to be opened up 200-300 times a day, you know, that's where that 9309 comes into place. Is it, you know, the battery is a lot stronger and will last a lot longer, and it's meant for a lot of open and closing. And then the 9307, they're the recessed. Obviously, a lot of people don't like looking at, you know, a big white piece of plastic on their door. Well, I mean, there you go. You've got a recessed wireless contact as well.
Perfect. I like the option. I mean, I'm an option person. I like the options. And then same thing here with the outdoor contact, right? Now, I had a question. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, I remember. Okay. So if you're walking into a sale, JD, and you were talking to an end user, how would you get them to understand the importance or the reason why you would want PowerG over anything else?
Well, I mean, two things is obviously range and battery life. You know, we have a lot of the dealers that still like to hardwire, but you know, at the end of the day, you're looking at back in the older SRF days is, you know, 2 to 3 years max on the battery life. But you're looking, you know, depend on usage, you're looking at 5 to 8 years. And I mean, that's key right there. I mean, I think that goes a long ways, you know, with PowerG offering, you know, 5 to 8 years battery life, and then again, being able to cover more than what we were used to cover back in the day with the older SRF. You know, it's just, again, it's almost a limitless. I mean, with the 1.24 mile line of sight range, with PowerG, it really opens it up again for the dealer to be able to protect and take care of that end user, you know, a lot more.
Okay, so when talking to an end user, really talking about battery life and reliability are going to be your two headliners that way.
And I think the encryption piece too, you know, that really does, that speaks highly too, as far as the encryption, knowing that, you know, we use the same encryption that banks use, you know, and so that, you know, that goes a long way as well.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. I mean, we've done these workshops now. I think this is our 4th or 5th one. I can't remember. They're all so great. They all just lead together. But we've talked about how there's certain devices like a flood, Neil, right? With flood sensors, it's one of those devices you kind of overlook until you wish you had it and you have this panic situation. I feel like it's the same way with encryption. It's one of those things that people are like, oh yeah, encryption, but they never really realize how big of a problem it is or a vulnerability it is until they have that worst case scenario story, right? So I like that PowerG protects against that. Okay, so we have this little PowerG. Okay, so PowerG is a really great solution for residential homes, right? Like no matter what size the home is, PowerG is going to cover it. But when you talk about commercial and what PowerG can do for commercial, it's a whole other bottle of worms. I couldn't think of the right analogy, but like it's a whole can of worms. Is that the right analogy? In case you guys are wondering where my brain's at, I can't think of any of the right, I can't even think the analogies. We do have some comments here. David says, PowerG rocks. I could go on for hours, but I'll leave it at that. I like that statement. Let's see, do we have any other questions? I don't think we have any quite yet. Okay, David adds, being able to see the remaining battery life as originally promised is the biggest gap. Now that we're starting to see, now we are starting to get the, okay. Now that we are starting to get to the life of replacing them, we have no idea if we should change them all or as they go low. JD, what would you say to that?
I would do it per sensor. I mean, obviously, again, the usage is what's going to drain or hold up that battery. So, I mean, I would definitely go per sensor there, because there's going to be some that are used more that battery will last actually longer.
Yeah, if you've got a device on like your front door and you're going in and out of your front door all the time, naturally that battery is going to die faster than a back window that you never open, right? That makes sense. Perfect. So PowerG in commercial it's got so many features specifically targeted towards commercial, right? It's got the ULC commercial Berg wireless, ultra long range that we've mentioned on, works on metal and concrete, and you can have up to 8 repeaters. Do you find that there's a necessity for repeaters, or is that more of just making sure that everything, feeling comfortable? JD, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, like I said, the situation. I mean, it depends on the environment, especially in the commercial range. You're going to have a lot more interference, I would think, depending on the, the application. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be times where a repeater might be needed. If you feel comfortable by doing it, I mean, it's not going to hurt, but
Yeah.
there'll be some times that a repeater might be needed because of the interference. But I mean, some people like to do it just, for peace of mind, and that's fine. But there's not a need unless, again, you've got some sensors that are pretty far or have a lot of interference.
Yeah, JD was working with a dealer that I talked to last week, and he had sold, what was it, a 20, I have my notes. How big is his farm? He had a farm, 300,000 square foot multi-building farm, and he's using PowerG, and he's saying that he would never go back because you don't have to run wires, you don't have to do conduit and scissor lifts, none of that. And talking to him about repeaters, he likes using repeaters for peace of mind, but he also found that it's not totally necessary. But I thought that opened my mind to what PowerG is capable of in a commercial setting, because it's a farm, multi-building, and 300,000 square feet. That's massive. So talking to him was really enlightening for me on PowerG in the commercial realm. Okay, does anybody have anything else to add? I don't think so. I think you guys are quiet today. If you have any questions, be sure to add it into that chat section. Okay, the USS Midway is what I was trying to remember earlier. So we did a PowerG install on the USS Midway, and we have a whole case study on it, but we kind of wanted to touch on the high levels. It's a submarine museum, and this is kind of the breakdown of what it looks like. So the square over here, can you see my mouse? Is where we have a panel, and then we have a repeater way the hay over here. And again, the materials in here are steel, right? It's a submarine. You can't really have a worse case scenario for an install, right? If something's gonna break or not work well, it would be here. So you've got the panel installed over here, and then you've got all of the circles. The purple circles are outdoor motion cameras. The yellow triangles are indoor sirens. The red triangle is an outdoor siren with a strobe. And then that dark red square is the repeater, right? And then the blue square are keypads. So this is just, I think people underestimate the power of PowerG. And when you show them a submarine and say it's working, it's active, and there's no problems, it's a little bit more enlightening. The technical team out here in Utah did a test with PowerG with open air, and they drove out to the salt flats. There's a video on YouTube that we can add to the chat. And they were testing the range open air, and in salt flats, they do all the professional racing and stuff out there. And they had a drone, and they were trying to get both of the guys stood at opposite sides of the valley, and one had a panel, one had a device, and they were seeing how long it could go. And as they pulled up to catch both guys in the picture, they lost the drone because it was so far and such a wide distance. So we know open air is a really good test. We've also tested PowerG at ISC West. If you guys have been there, it's in one of the biggest convention centers in Vegas, and at the Venetian. And there's booths and there's technology happening every like 20 feet. That's farther. I think the walkways are like 10 feet apart. And then there's a new booth with new technology, and everybody's on Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi there is awful, and it's completely unreliable because there's so much interference going on. And so we decided, oh, we'll test PowerG. So we would have someone stand in the booth with the panel, and we had a runner that would run out the back door because our booth was near the front of the show floor. So they ran all the way out the back, out into the street, and the device was still reporting back to the panel, even with all of that interference and all of the things happening. So PowerG is not something that we just talk about, but it walks the walk. You know what I mean? If you are looking to build a system that is reliable, that you can install and walk away knowing that you're not going to have random sensors drop off and you can't figure out why, batteries that you're going to have to roll trucks for and replace all the time, or have those customers calling repeatedly. PowerG is just such a simple, easy answer. And we actually are going to be at ISC West this year in Vegas, and we're going to have a live demo of PowerG there too. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but if you want to see PowerG in action, ISC West is the perfect place to come and see. If you want to see all the interference and things like that, we also want to know if you're coming to ISC West. So I'm going to launch a poll here. Let me know if you're coming. If you are, we would love to meet with you. If you don't know who your sales rep is, or if you want to meet with a sales rep, we can schedule you a meeting with them. So let me know if you're coming to ISC, and thank you for being here. I don't think we have any other questions about PowerG. JD, I think you covered it. You did such a good job. Nobody has questions. That's fantastic.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add? Did we miss anything?
No, not really. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you know, guys that are listening, it's, you know, it's definitely it's a game changer, you know, from the past to now, and having the ability to cover and protect your end users or your customers with what's available now really goes a long way, and it gives you that credibility as a dealer to be able to offer this, you know, to your end users. But again, I mean, technology's come a long ways, and I'm a firm believer in what PowerG offers, and there's more to come too from us. We as a manufacturing company, we have more to come, and so it's to have dealers on board and to be with us to see what we continue to engineer as far as products go, and stay ahead of the industry.
That's something I'm pretty proud of. I came from the Qualsys world, and we came into JCI almost 2 years ago. And I think the ability to stay innovative has made a huge difference, right? IQ Panel 2 has been around, Android-based software updates, Bluetooth disarming for what, 4 or 5 years now. And so it's tried and true. And I feel like it's the same thing with PowerG. PowerG is the technology that we developed and we've used for a while. So when we talk about having a future roadmap and building on it, the ground that we're standing on is really solid. So stay tuned. JD, you nailed it. We do have some exciting announcements coming. So watch for your emails, come to ISC West, take a look at our booth. I'll be there. I'd love to meet you guys and talk to you face to face. Thank you for your participation today. If you have a question you think of later, by all means, shoot us an email. It's smartsecurity@jci.com, and we would love to hear from you. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. See ya.
Thanks, Whitney.
Thank you.